college. Okay, so you just heard two pieces of music that are going to be part of your Q3 piano exam. So let's explore that a little bit and talk about it. So here is our objective. You will establish a musical quartet and perform the following two pieces with the same ensemble of performers for both pieces. The pieces will be performed as a piano quartet using music, and you will each sit behind your own piano for the performances. There are recordings of these piano quartets on my e-board under Q3 piano exams. The first piece is Beethoven's Ode to Joy from his Symphony No. 9. The second piece is called 40-Finger Ensemble by E.L. Lancaster. Live performances will be scheduled during the last week of the quarter, that is March 27th through the 31st. Let's talk about the procedure. First, you should gather members for your quartet. You need 3 other people. Consider both strong players and developing players, since there are more challenging parts and more manageable parts to the music. Consider your free time and the free time of others. Do you have the same off periods? Are you available after school for a rehearsal? While searching for your performers, also consider the amount of effort and practice each will contribute towards making this a truly wonderful performance. Since there are 15 of you, one group will have 3 players and will need to find an additional person. That additional person could be someone from another group or someone from AP Theory. There are some great pianists in there. Next, you should read the performance notes on the second page together with your group. Then, after talking with members of your ensemble, decide who is going to play what part. Consider nominating an ensemble director who can organize rehearsals, etc. Then you want to practice on your own at first, independent from your group. Solidify your part before rehearsing with others. You are not permitted to write in note names on the music. You're also going to want to talk with members of your quartet and decide on such things as tempos, entrances, repeats, and so on. You have a lot of flexibility with this, so get creative. Then you might want to schedule some rehearsals, either as a duet, trio, or quartet. Eventually, you'll want to all rehearse together to solidify tempos and so on. Now, we all know that live performances can have mishaps. So develop strategies in the unfortunate event this happens during your performance. In other words, look for the checkpoint measures in the music. You may need to stop and restart if it becomes necessary. Please remember that this is a group effort. Everyone needs to perform and contribute to making your performance most successful. Be respectful with each other and offer constructive criticism and praise whenever possible. If there are disagreements, misunderstandings, or miscommunication, work together to solve the issue and get the job done. This should be a fun, enjoyable experience for all. If the issue persists, consult me, but only as a last resort. Keep in mind, you will be evaluated as a group performer and individual performer. Now, let's read through the performance notes on the next page. Ode to Joy performance notes. This is in simple quadruple time. This quartet is written in the key of G major and contains some accidentals throughout the arrangement. Ode to Joy is arranged with 4 parts in a brace, much like a music score. Parts 1 and 2 are written in treble clef and should be played using only the right hand, and parts 3 and 4 in bass clef and should be performed with the left hand. Be sure to perform all notes using the correct octave ID. Although there are no repeats, consider adding a da capo repeat at the end and playing through the piece a few times while layering in the parts. Or you can have 2 parts enter at first and the others later. You can even decide to layer the parts in and then out. There is no limit to your creativity. Some additional items worth mentioning. There is no specified tempo, but it does indicate spirited at the beginning. With your group, decide on a tempo goal and set the metronome when practicing. Do not use the metronome for your live performance. Dynamics are written throughout in symbol form and using abbreviated words. The part you play may not necessarily have the same dynamic marking in the same measure as other members of your ensemble. So which part has the melody? What parts are the supporting roles? This should all be taken into account for a balanced ensemble. Live performances never begin with someone counting in and saying 1, 2, ready, go. So if 2, 3, or all of you decide to enter simultaneously, decide how you will do that silently. In the last measure of Ode to Joy, observe the writ and end together. Also, note that the numbers above and below certain notes are the suggested piano fingering that should be performed accordingly. On to notes for the 40-finger ensemble. This is also in simple quadruple time, and this quartet is written in the key of A flat major and can be played entirely with a left hand and right hand 5-finger pattern. 40-finger ensemble is arranged with 4 separate music parts and requires each member of the quartet to perform notes using both hands simultaneously on the grand staff. In other words, 40 fingers. Note that part 1 and 2 have the same harmonic rhythm, while part 3 has similar rhythm to that of parts 1 and 2. Part 4 contains rhythms of longer duration than the other 3 parts. Be sure to read the directions given for part 3 and 4. Part 3 should perform both hands 1 octave higher than written, and part 4 should perform both hands 2 octaves lower than written. Although there is a repeat, you are not limited to just one repeat. Consider adding a da capo repeat at the end and playing through the piece a few times while layering in the parts. Or you can have 2 parts enter at first and the others later. You can even decide to layer the parts in and then out. Again, there is no limit to your creativity. Additional items worth mentioning for the 40-finger ensemble. There is no specified tempo, but it does indicate lively at the beginning. With your group, decide on a tempo goal and set the metronome when practicing. Do not use a metronome for your live performance. Dynamics are written throughout in symbol form. Ask yourself which part has the melody. What parts are the supporting roles? This should all be taken into account for a balanced ensemble. If you are layering the parts in or out, consider incorporating additional dynamics into your performance for a deeper effect. Live performances never begin with someone counting in and saying 1, 2, ready, go. So if 2, 3, or all of you decide to enter simultaneously, decide how you will all do that silently. Note that the numbers above and below certain notes are the suggested piano fingering that should be performed accordingly. Remember, 40-finger ensemble is a 5-finger pattern, so each finger in both hands is essentially assigned to a specific note to play for the entire performance. With that said, let's check out the music to Ode to Joy. Here's what it looks like. On the left-hand side, we have the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, indicating which part is which. Let's take a listen to it while you follow the music. And here is our 40-finger ensemble. I'll just look at part 1 for now. I'm going to have part 2 enter now over part 1. Part 3. Enter part 4. In the 40 finger ensemble, I decided to have each part enter one at a time. You don't have to do that. They can all enter at the same time, or two can enter at the same time. You could fade in, you could fade out. So be creative when you practice. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. And all this information that we talked about today is up on the e-board under the Quarter 3 Piano Exam tab. Have a great day, college.